Yes, family, big up yourself, large up yourself, yeah. It's a blood clot vibes, yes, family, large up yourself, big up yourself. It's the hostess with the mostest, selector skill, our shaloms 101 and tools. You know how we do. It's the vibes.
Bittersweet Herbals, where the taste is bitter, but the results are sweet. Bittersweetherbals.com.
Run the rhythm.
Bittersweet Herbals, where the taste is bitter, but the results are sweet. Bittersweetherbals.com.
Yes, family, make sure to get your bitters. Continue to move forward. Know how we do. Yes, family. Shout out to the Creator Gang. I mean, got an early afternoon vibes. Shout out to Ron Yogi, Hot Clothing. Make sure you get the shirt. Hot Clothing. You know what I mean? We in the building. Time for the chime in. Yes, family. Get this thing going. Salute. I see the gang chiming in. Kizzy Masia, I see you. I see you chime in. Creator Gang. Honor and humility. My brother Malachi McAfee chiming in. Salute to the righteous God. Got Wise Flow in the building. Where's this district? Big up yourself, yeah. Tune in Thursday. Dropping early this week. I mean, let's say this out. Let's say big man. Large up yourself. Creator Gang in the building. You know how we do. Yeah. Yes, family, I see ya. I mean, shalom. Peace to the righteous God. Where is it? Maya Messiah. Yeah. When I start off with a Rastaman split, child of the creator of all, where's it? Messiah chiming in. That's the family chiming in, slowly but surely. First afternoon. It's the vibes. Yeah. We're gonna get into it. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna be that long. This ain't no long joint out joint. I just wanted to piggyback off what I did last time. On the last joint, which was, let me see. What was the last joint I did? The start of the Hebrew calendar and the timeline from Adam to Noah. That was the last video I did. And I'm going to piggyback off of that because in that video, I basically was just showing how the timeline is basically off. And being that they have a starting point for the biblical timeline, we could literally trace the years of Adam's descendants based off the numbers of years that they give us in the Bible. And that's what I did on the last video. I showed and proved that from Adam to Noah, meaning from the birth of Adam to the death of Noah, the birth of Adam was what? 3761 BC, because that's the year of the creation. And the death of Noah was 1895 BC. So from 3761 BC to 1895 BC, that encapsulates the birth of Adam to the death of Noah. And that also encapsulates the time period historically of the Ubaid period of ancient Sumer or Mesopotamia and the Nakada period of ancient Egypt. Coming on down to the old dynastic kingdom, to the middle kingdom, and to the new kingdom of ancient Egypt. During that time period is when Adam would have been walking the earth and Noah would have been walking the earth during these time periods. So it's showing you historically that the time period is off. So this video was just a piggyback off of that, because I'm nipping all this in the bud one time. You know what I mean? So when any debates come up dealing with anything biblical, all this is already going to be nipped in the bud. It's just a matter of presenting it and annihilating the goddamn victim who steps in the way. You see what I'm saying? So like I said, the last video I did, I showed and proved the time period is off. And I put the historical time periods in the biblical literature to show you that if these things were true, Narmer would have known Adam. How you Narmer and don't go visit the very first man? You know, if we living right now and the very first man that was created is still walking the earth, let's say he in Thailand somewhere in some monastery, but you could pay him a visit. Who ain't gonna pay that man a visit? This is the first man. That's great grandpappy. You know what I'm saying? The very first man that God created is still walking the earth. Who ain't gonna pay him a visit and ask him, well, how was it like when God created you? How did God look? How did the serpent and the Eve? You go ask all them questions. If Adam was walking the earth at the time period that they say he was walking the earth. So now and then this is interesting because I'm piggybacking off of that video, because I made a statement in that video and I said, you know what, I'm gonna make that into a presentation. Because when I had a discussion on Sonetta about the creation being made in 6 literal days, a lot of people got in their feelings. A lot of people got upset trying to say that wasn't literal. That was metaphorical. It wasn't to be taken literal. But then I showed the Hebrew evidence of the day 1, the day 2 in Hebrew to show, like, look, it's not even using the word elif, which is 1,000 in Hebrew. It's using the word yom, which is a day, a 24-hour period. And they couldn't fathom that because, you know what I mean, it was unrealistic. But then in the same breath, they're quick to tell you that God can do anything. So if God can do anything, he could create the heavens and the earth in 6 literal days, right? So that's what this video is about. I'm doing a cross comparison of if God created heavens and the earth in 6 literal days and if he created it in 6,000 years. And I'm going to prove to you without a shadow of a doubt that both accounts are inconsistent with historical timeline in creation. So whether if you want to run with the 6-day creation or the 6,000 years, I'm going to show and prove that both of that shit is false. I already showed on the last video that the 6-day creation with 6 literal days is false. You know what I mean? Peace to the game. So like I said, this is not a very long presentation. I'm just basically, what I'm going to be doing here, for the most part, is reading the 6-day creation story. That's what I'm going to be doing here. I'm going to read the 6-day creation story and place each day of creation within the historical time bracket of 1,000 years and show what God was doing and what the historical records say simultaneously with that time period. It's about to get interesting. It's about to get interesting. It's about to get interesting. We're going to get started in about 20 seconds. Well, let me say, Malik. Where's the big man? Where's the big man? Yep, that's right. That's crazy. Let's get to it. Let's cook. Let's cook. The false god is lingering in the pot. Let's cook him. Time to cook the false god. Yahweh, I see you. Peace to the righteous God. Ahuba, Ima, I see you. Just me, where it said John, I see you. I see the family chiming in. Let's get into it. Let's get into it. All right. Now, title of this joint is Did God Create the Heavens and the Earth in 6 days or 6,000 years? Now, here's just a little chart from the Owaspi's timeline, showing you that this chart is showing from the creation of man to our present time period. From the first arc cycle to the 25th arc cycle, our present time period. This time period is roughly 72,000 years. And then if you notice at the bottom, of course, we keep the time periods tracked right here. So if we could go forward or backwards, the time period of history is charted on this timeline. So now, as confirmed already, as I read, and we'll reestablish again, that the Hebrew calendar, the biblical creation, started 3761 BC. 3761 BC would place us down here in the 23rd arc cycle, 23 arc cycles after the creation of man. See that? So hold on. So that'll roughly be 69,000 years. So 69,000 years after the creation of man from the Owaspi is when the biblical God is creating man. 69,000 years later. So here we have it right here in the next chart. Here's the time of creation. Now, again, like I established, Yale University Library. Yale is an accredited school. And as we read in the purple, the starting point of the Hebrew chronology is the year 3761 BC, the date for the creation of the date of the creation of the world as described in the Old Testament. So right there we have 3761 BC, and you could always reference this no matter who you're talking to, or let them know that your creation story has a beginning, because nobody really talks about the beginning accounts of the creation story. They just talk about it, but they don't place it on a time period. And to validate that, here's the Hebrew calendar in real time. You can look this website up, and it's the month of Adar. And here's the year right here, 3784. And that's the year of the year of creation. AM. Amano Adoni. 5784. So we're 5,784 years since the creation, since Adam, since his descendants. So that's where we're at. So we're not even 6,000 years old. So this is the calendar in real time that you could look, because it says March. March is the Hebrew month for Adar. April 2024. That's 5784. So we on schedule when it comes to the chart. So now this is the 23rd arc cycle right here. So this is 69,000 years after the creation of man that the biblical God decides to create heaven and earth in the year 3761 BC. And the 23rd arc cycle starts, as we zoom in right here, it starts at 3953 BC. So the year of the creation of the heavens and the earth would have been right up in this gap right here, than the 23rd arc cycle. Now, so if God created the heavens and the earth in 6 literal days, it would have been in the year 3761 BC. The reign of Adam and his descendants would be from the year 3761 BC. Now, to prove that, if we're dealing with literal days, Genesis chapter 1, verse 5, and God called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and the evening and the morning were the first day. And when we look at the word day right there, the Strong's Concordance is H3117. And when we look that up, now here's the calendar right here. Now here's the calendar. Now we're dealing with the 6-day creation. We're dealing with the literal creation. So if God created the heavens and the earth in 6 days, this is the map right here. So here is the map. The year 3761 BC, first week of creation, spring month, because things are done in the spring. Spring is the symbol of creation, beginnings. So the first day of creation, when God created the lights from separated the lights from the darkness, that would have been a 24-hour period. Now some people say, "Oh, that's bullshit, man. That's it's 1,000 years or whatever." But it said, as we look up here, right here, it says a day. It don't say 1,000. It didn't say, and the evening and morning were the first 1,000 years. It didn't say that. It said the evening and the morning were the first day. A day is a 24-hour period, literally a 12-hour period, including just dealing with daylight. But as a whole, it's 24 hours. And the Strong's Concordance is 3117. And then here's a map of showing you of the weekly creation using the 24-hour time period. But let me validate that this is a day. The Hebrew word for day is yom. Strong's Concordance 3117. And what does it say? Look at all these references. That's how it references yom. It says a day 2,008 times. See that? Time. Daily. See that? What does it say here? Day. Day equal 24-hour period. See that? A working day. So right here in the Strong's Concordance, it states that the Hebrew word day is yom and is a 24-hour period. So here we're establishing a 24-hour day period of creation starting from the year 3761 BC. First week of creation, springtime. So when God created the heavens and the earth, separated the light from the darkness, it was in 24 hours, right? So look at the 7th day. So it took him 144 hours, which is 6 days, to create the heavens and the earth. That's if we're taking this literal, just as the scripture is literal. Because you can't tell me that the day that he mentioned right here, Yom, is not literal, but the creation story is literal. No, you got to take it in. You got to take it for what it is. Now look at this. If a day was 1,000 years, the Hebrew word elif, which means 8,000, would have been used instead of yom, which means a day. Here is the Hebrew Strong's Concordance, H505, elif, which is the Hebrew word for what? 1,000, and there's the evidence. So if a day was 1,000 years, it would have said this instead of yom. It would have said elif instead of yom. How can you fight against this? I'm not adding, I'm not subtracting. I'm telling you that in the Genesis account, when God said he created the heavens and the earth in 6 days, he did create the heavens and the earth in 6 literal days, because there is no reference anywhere in the 7th-day creation account. Even the word 1,000 is not even referenced. The word elif is nowhere mentioned in the 6-day creation stories, a reference of 1,000. So there you have it. The Hebrew word elif means 1,000. And when we come back up, the Hebrew word yom means a day. So when God up here said, and God called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and the evening and the morning were the first day, he was talking about a 24-hour period. So in the year 3761 BC, in the first week of creation, first day, he created the lights, the heavens, the darkness, separated them all in a 24-hour period. Sounds silly, but this is the reality of what the text say. Now look, The year of Adam and his descendants started from 3161 BC. Let me get that down. Let me drop that down. And here's the map. This is what I showed in the last presentation. Now look at that. The year of Adam and his descendants, it started from 3761 BC. So here is the map. Here's Adam at his birth, the time of creation, because he's born in 6 literal days. So Adam would have been born. Let's go back to the chart. He's born on the 6th day. So Adam would have been born 144 hours in. So 144 hours in the first week, Adam was born. He's created. He's formed. 3761 is the year. And Adam dies in the year 2831 BC. See that? So that's if Adam is created in 6 on the 6th day, literally, he would have died in the year 2864 BC. Now, this is dealing with the literal 6 days. This is how it would have looked. Now, look at this. So, if God created the heavens and the earth in 6 literal days, Adam to Noah would be from 3761 BC to 1845 BC, right, as you see right here. Here's Adam. Here's Noah. Here's Adam's birth date, to Noah's death date, 1845. So 3761 BC to 1845. That's the existence from Adam to Noah. Now let's come back up. Let's read that again. So if God created the heavens and the earth in 6 literal days, Adam to Noah would be from 3761 BC to 1845 BC. Now, if you notice, Shem, Ham, and Japheth are born in the year 2295 BC. Now let's go to Shem, Ham, and Japheth right here. This is the year they're born. 2295 BC. This is when Shem, Ham, and Japheth born, especially Ham. Ham is born 2295 BC. That don't even make sense, but let's read. Notice. Now, if you notice, Shem, Ham, and Japheth are born in the year 2295 BC. So how can Narmer be the descendant of Ham, but exists 885 years before the birth of Ham? Showing you that the biblical timeline is totally off. So coming back up to the timeline, there go Narmer. There go Narmer right here, right? 3150 BC is Narmer. The birth of Shem, Ham, and Japheth is, the birth of Ham is 2295 BC. That's 885 years before, after. But look at that. Before Ham. 885 years before Ham, Narmer is reigning. Ham's supposed to be up here, back here somewhere, not down here. That don't even make sense. And if Ham is born in 2295 BC, Narmer would have to be placed further down the line here. So again, it's showing you that this time period, this timeline is off by far. So again, so how can Narmer be the descendant of Ham but exist 885 years before the birth of Ham? Showing you that the biblical timeline is totally off. Now, some would argue, now let's do this. Let's do this. Now, some would argue that God didn't create the heavens and the earth in 6 literal days, but in 6,000 years. Although God himself never said he created the heavens and the earth in 6,000 years, but in 6 days, as I proved above. But let's go with the narrative that God created the heavens and the earth in 6,000 years, since this is the preferred view of creation. And I'm going to show you that it's still off. So now I showed you how silly it sounds for God creating the heavens and the earth in 6 literal days, being 144,000 hours, being 144 hours, not even 144,000 hours, but 144 hours, God created the heavens and the earth in 6 days. Now, people will say, oh, that's crazy. That don't make sense. Nah, God didn't create the heavens and the earth in 6 days. He created the heavens and the earth in 6,000 years. Okay, so now we're going with that narrative. Now we're going with that narrative. So now, here we have it. The year 3761 BC, first week of creation, spring month. Then you got the first day, creation of the light and darkness, and that's 1,000 years, right? The second day is 1,000 years, which would be 2,000 years, and 1,000 years and as you go forth. So now we're going to use this premise, right? Everybody talk about God created the heavens and the earth in 6,000 years, but nobody put a time period of history on it. Put it on a timeline. Now we're going to put this on a timeline. So God created the first day in 1,000 years. Now keep in mind, on the other chart, 3761 BC, Adam was created. Everybody was created in that year in 6 literal days. Now, if we got to take a day being 1,000 years for the first day of creation, now we're expanding 3761 BC to 1,000 years for one day. So now this is even worse than before. If you admit that the 6,000 year creation is what you're rolling with, this is even worse than believing in the literal 6 days. You better off believing in the literal 6-day creation than believing in the 6,000 year creation for what I'm about to show. See that? Now look at this. Let's go to the first day. Look at this. Since we already established the year of creation being 3761 BC, the 6,000 year of creation would begin at that point. So 6,000 years starting from 3761 BC is what we're dealing with. So now, here you have it. Look at this, family. Pay attention to the numbers. Because like I say, I put everything on the timeline. We're going to win every time when we put everything on the timeline. Now look at this. Starting from the top. The year 3761 BC, first week of creation, spring month. First day of creation. Creation of light and darkness for 1,000 years. Now keep in mind, 3761 BC. 1,000 years, subtract that, is 2761 BC. So the first day of creation was from 3761 BC to 2761 BC. During those 1,000 years is when God was creating light and separating light from darkness. Now let's read in Genesis. Let's read. Another thing, look, first day equal 1,000 years. 3761 BC to 2761 BC is 1,000 years. And this is what God is doing in 3760. This is what God is doing between the years of 3761 BC and 2761 BC. This is what God is doing right here, what I'm about to read. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Barashit bara Elohim wa aretz. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, let there be light, and there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good, and God divided the light from darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. Now he's doing all of this in this first day right here. Between the years of 3761 BC to 2761 BC, that's when God is separating the light from darkness. But then, when we put the historicity right next to it, what's going on the earth? So when God is dividing the light from darkness on the earth plane, the Nakata culture is going on. Early pre-dynastic period of Egypt is going on. And the Ubaid culture of Egypt is going on during this time period. During this very time period that God is creating heaven and earth, or separating light from darkness, this is what's going on in Sumer, in Mesopotamia. This is what's going on. When God is dividing the light, the earth is not even formed yet. Dry land has not even appeared yet, but this is the historicity going on at this time period in Mesopotamia. And this is the historicity going on at the time period in ancient Egypt, the Nakata period. So when God said, let there be light, and when that light turned on, nigga, this is what's going on in Egypt. God turned the light on and was shocked to see, like, damn, nigga, what's going on out there on earth? So this is what's going on the first day of creation. So again, first day of creation, with the first 1,000 years from 3761 BC to 2761 BC, you have the Nakata culture, you have the Ubaid culture, and you have pre-dynastic Egypt. That's the first day. Now let's go to the second day. Now keep in mind the day is 1,000 years. That's what they say. They ain't want to believe. They didn't want to take the 6 literal days. So now we're playing the 6,000 year game. So this is the second day. So the second day 4,000 years would be from 3761 BC to 1761 BC. This is the second day of creation. Here we go on the map. Second day of creation. What is the second day of creation? The creation of the firmament. So the firmament was being created within the 27th millennium BC to the 17th millennium to the 17th century BC. That's what's going on. Let's read. Let's read what's going on between the 27th millennium BC to the to the 17th century BC. Genesis chapter 1, verse 6 to 8. And God said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters." Verse 7. And God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. Now check this. Look at this. Look what verse 8 says. Nobody caught this before. And God called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day. Now notice he called the firmament heaven, which is to say God created heaven on the second day. That's what it's saying right there. Heaven was created on the second day. What does verse 8 say? And God called the firmament what? Heaven. What is the firmament called? Heaven. What is a heaven? A firmament. What is a firmament? A heaven. And the evening and the morning were the second day. So there was no heaven the first day of creation. Heaven did not exist on the first day of creation. It was just a dividing of light from darkness on the first day of creation. But on the second day of creation is when heaven was made. And heaven was made in the year 2761 BC to 761 BC. That's when the creation of the heavens was made, within that 1,000-year period. So it took 1,000 years for God to create the heavens on the second day within the time period of 2761 BC to 1761 BC. And what's going on historically around this time? Now look at this. This is the second day now. The first day he divided the light from darkness. The second day he created heaven. So historically, the second day, 2761 BC to 1761 BC, historically speaking, that would have been the Old Kingdom, the Middle Kingdom of Egypt. So when God created the heavens, the Egyptians was in their Old and Middle Kingdom. When God is creating the heavens with a firmament. See that? Come on, make this make sense. Now, this is what they wanted. This is 1,000 years. They said a day is 1,000. They didn't want the 6 literal days. They said, no, that's not literal. They said the 6 days wasn't literal. They said it was 6,000 years. A day is likened to a God. A day is 1,000 years is likened to a day, and a day is 1,000 years. You know that verse of the Bible. That's what they run with. So using that narrative now, we're using the 6,000 year, the 1,000 day year narrative now, and we're placing the starting point at 3761 BC, and we're in 2 days in, from 3761 BC to 1761 BC is 2 days. That's the first 2 days of creation. That's when he divided the light from the darkness, and that's when he created the heavens. And historically, you got the Nakata culture, pre-dynastic Egypt, and the Old and the Middle Kingdom going on in the first 2 days of creation. So how can this make any sense? And we already established that. Look, we already established that the Hebrew calendar is 5784, which is 3761 BC. When you chime it back. Let's move on. Now this is the third day. Now the third day is from 1761 BC to 761 BC. That's when God created things on the third. What did God create on the third day? Let's look at the chart. Look at the third day. Creation of dry land, grass, herbs, fruit trees. So God created dry land, which is the crust of the earth. He created grass and fruit trees and herbs within the 1,000-year period of from 1761 BC to 761 BC is when God created dry land. This is the third day of creation, using 1,000 years as the measure. started from 3761 BC as the starting point, as proven for the Hebrew calendar. So I got you niggas in a big bear trap. Either way it go. Whether if you want to use the literal 6 days or the 1,000 years, look how I got you niggas in a bear trap. See that? So the third day, when God is over here forming dry land, when he is forming fruit trees, this was going on. What's going on? Let's read it first. Let's read what's going on the third day. Genesis chapter 1, verse 9 through 13. What does it say? Genesis verse 9. And God said, let the waters under the heavens, the firmament, be gathered together unto one place. And let the dry land appear. And it was so. And God called the dry land earth, Aret. And the gathering together of the waters he called seas. And God saw that it was good. Verse 11. And God said, let the earth bring forth grass, herbs, yielding seed, and fruit tree, yielding fruit after its kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth. And it was so. And the earth brought forth grass and herbs yielding seed after its kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself after its kind. And God saw that it was good. And look what it states. And the evening and morning were the third day. So this was going on the third day. So we come back up to the chart. On the third day right here, we see dry land, grass, herbs, and fruit trees. And this is taking place within the year 1761 BC to 761 BC. What's going on historically around this time? Let's take a look. Now, here's a chart of the first 3 days. Look at the third day. Look to the right here. So when God was creating dry land and grass, herbs, fruits, and trees, historically, what was going on was the new kingdom of Egypt, the third intermediate period of Egypt. And look, even the Greek Dark Ages is taking place when God's supposed to be creating dry land. This is the third day of creation, using 1,000 years as the measuring mark. So here go the first 3 days of creation. From 3761 BC to 761 BC is the first 3 days of creation, putting it on the timeline. Look at that. Look at that. See that? So when dry land was created, grass and herbs and fruit trees, the new kingdom was flourishing in Egypt. The third intermediate period has came after the new kingdom of Egypt. And then the collapse of the Mycenaeans, the collapse of the Minoan civilizations took place, which created the Greek Dark Ages. And look at that, 761 BC, that's the time of Homer. That's the time of archaic Greek rises back up out of the Dark Ages, and Homer pops up on the scene, the father of the Greek philosophy and culture. All this is taking place when God's supposed to be creating creating dry land, grass, herbs, and fruit trees in the third day. This is what's taking place in the third day. In the third day of creation, that's what's taking place historically. You got the Greek Dark Ages, you got Homer popping up, the new kingdom, the third intermediate period, all that's taking place on the third day of creation. See that? Showing you it's off. Now let's move on to the fourth day. We don't stop. Look, now this is the fourth day. Now the fourth day of creation is from 761 BC to 239 AD, or Common Era. So this is the fourth. So the fourth day of creation. Jesus running around this motherfucker on the fourth day of creation. Because look at the date, 761 BC to 239 AD, Common Era. So let's look at the map. Look at this. Look at the fourth day. Now, what takes place on the fourth day, family? The creation of the sun, moon, and stars. Look at that. So from 761 BC to 239 AD, within that 1,000 years, the sun, moon, and stars are being created. This is the fourth day. Now, keep in mind, this is using your logic of 1,000 years. There you have it. What's going on? Matter of fact, let's read the fourth day of creation first. Let's read it. Genesis chapter 1, verse 14 through 19. And God said, let there be lights in the firmament, in the heavens, to divide the day from the light. And let them be for signs, and for seasons, and for days, and for years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so. Let me just nip this in the bud, because a lot of when we tell the Israelites, when we tell cats that the moon cycles is how you count the days, the Sabbaths and all that, they be like, oh, nah, you don't count it. No, it's right there, days. So in Genesis, in the fourth day, it talks about the sun, moon, and stars, and it says they're used for signs, seasons, and for days and years. So the moon cycles is using for days and how to count the Sabbath through them days. All right, just want to nip that in the bud. Verse 15, let them be for signs in the firmament of the heavens to give light upon the earth, and it was so. And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night, and he made the stars also. So this verse is basically saying he's talking about the sun, moon, and stars. He's creating the sun, moon, and stars on the fourth day, family. We done went through 3 days without no sun, moon, and stars. And it's on the fourth day that God is now initially creating the sun, moon, and stars. Verse 17. And God said, and God set them in the firmament of heaven to give light upon the earth. Verse 18. And to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from darkness. And God saw that it was good. Verse 19. Look, and the evening and the morning were the fourth day. So now, again, the Bible say fourth day, but you want to believe and add your private interpretation, leaning on your own understanding, saying, oh no, this is 1,000 years. So now, since we're dealing with the 1,000-year time period, the fourth day, 1,000 years, coming back up to the chart, look at the fourth day. The fourth day of creation took place 761 BC to 239 Common Era. That's when God created the sun, moon, and stars. So for the first 3 days, it was nothing lighting up this joint. It was pure darkness. You got fruit trees growing in pure darkness. You got dry land, herbs, and grass growing in pure darkness. The absence of light is cold. The absence of heat is cold. So how can you have fruit trees and herbs growing from 1761 BC to 761 BC without no light? So from 3761 BC to 761 BC, which is the first 3 days. Let's go back up. The first 3 days right here. These first 3 days, there was no sun, moon, and stars to light this joint. The first 3 days, there was no sun, moon, and stars to give light to any productivity of what's being created. So on the third day of creation, when God created dry land, and when God said he's going to create grass and herbs and fruit trees, he did that in total blackness, in total darkness. See that? So from 3761 BC to 761 BC, it was total darkness while all this was going on. On the third day, 1761 BC to 761 BC, God created herbs, fruits, and dry land and grass in total pitch black, triple stage darkness for 1,000 years. And then after that, what did God do? He created the sun, moon, and stars. Now look at this chart. Look at the second half of this chart. These are the first 4 days. But on the fourth day, what was going on historically? When God was creating the sun, moon, and stars in the time period of 761 BC to 239 AD, Common Era, right here, what was going on historically? Look at that. The Assyrians and Babylonians, the Assyrian and Babylonian captivity of the Israelites was taking place when God was creating the sun, moon, and stars. Jesus Christ was giving his ministry in the first century Common Era when God was creating the sun, moon, and stars. God creating the sun, moon, and stars when Jesus is being crucified. God created the sun, moon, and stars when Israel was being sent into captivity under the Assyrians and Babylonians. Ezra is compiling the Tanakh during this time period when God is creating the heavens and the sun, moon, and stars. Showing you how silly the narrative is, using 1,000 years as the measure, starting from 3761 BC, the beginning of the Jewish calendar. It's over for you niggas, man. You niggas ain't got no legs to stand on after this. So look at that. So we know common sense tells us that you cannot have plants without sunlight. That is impossible. So even in the creation story, God got it wrong. He's supposed to create the sun first and then the goddamn plants and dry land and all that. So it's showing you that the creation story is inaccurate, it's inconsistent, and the time period is totally out of whack when you place it on a historical timeline. So again, the fourth day is 761 BC to 239 Common Era. So when God is up there creating the sun, moon, and stars vigorously, the Assyrians and the Babylonians has taken the Israelites into captivity. You know, Greek philosophy is flourishing now. The Etruscan civilization is flourishing. See that? The Israelites return to the back to rebuild the second temple of Jerusalem during this time period under Ezra, 450 BC. That's when the Tanakh was compiled. All this is taking place on the fourth day of creation when God's supposed to be creating the sun, moon, and stars. See that? Man, got these niggas in a bear trap. Now that's the fourth day. Let's move to the fifth day now. Let's move to the fifth day. This is the fifth day of creation. Now the fifth day, using 1,000 years, is from 239 Common Era to 1239 Common Era, or after Christ. But we're going to say Common Era. So fifth day, the fifth day of creation is from 239 Common Era to 1239 Common Era. Now, what's going on the fifth day of creation? Let's look on the map. Look what's going on. The creation of animals. The creation of animals is taking place 239 Common Era to 1239 Common Era. Let's read what's going on the fifth day. Let's read Genesis 1:20. And God said, let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creatures that hath life, and the fowl that may fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven. Verse 21, and God created great whales, and every living creature that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly after their kind, and every winged fowl after its kind, and God saw that it was good. And God blessed them, saying, be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the sea, and let the fowl multiply in the earth. Verse 23, now look, and the evening and the morning were what? The fifth day. Not the 5,000th year, but you want to use that. A day is 1,000 years, so we're going to measure it in times, place it in the time period of history. So this is the fifth day. That's what's going on the fifth day of creation. So now we're 5 days in. This is going on the fifth day of creation. Let me zoom in on this one first. So the fifth day of creation, right here, 239 Common Era, 1239 Common Era. This is the fifth day. This is when animals are being created within that time period. So when animals are being created, the Roman Empire is thriving. The Byzantine Empire is thriving. This is when this shit is crazy. This is when the Europeans begin to reign, when animals are created on the fifth day. It's over for these niggas, man. You can't come out the goddamn house talking about the biblical creation story, Adam and Eve and the descendants of Adam. All that is shut down. It's false. Now we're going into the sixth day. What happened on the sixth day? What happened on the sixth day, family? Man is created. Now look at the date. This is the sixth day of creation. So all what we read up until this point, there was no existence of human beings. Now human beings are about to be created on the sixth day. A day is 1,000 years. So the sixth day being 1239 AD Common Era to 2239 Common Era, the future. We ain't even got to 2239 yet. See that? So the 6,000th year ends in the year 2239. We ain't even got there yet. See that? Look where we at. This is the sixth day. Let's look at the chart. What takes place on the sixth day? Man is created. Creation of humans. So the creation of humans took place 1239 Common Era to 2239 Common Era. So man, right now as we speak, it should be human beings be poop, 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 just popping up being created right now. Because God took 1,000 years to create man. So new human beings should be popping up just spontaneously here and there. Boop, boop, just popping up. Boop. Let's read what God did on the sixth day. Now look at this. This is the sixth day. Look at the sixth day. Pay attention to the sixth day. Look what's going on historically during the sixth day of creation when man was formed by your God. 1239 to 2239 is the sixth day. That's 1,000 years. But look what we have. 1600 AD, Common Era. We have what? The transatlantic slave trade. When your God was sitting up there creating human beings, the slave trade was going on historically. We were in the year 2024, present time. There you go, right there. So the sixth day of creation, man is being created and formed. That's taking place within the 1,000th year that slavery took place. We're in the Common Era right now, and then you got the future, 2239. I didn't even got here yet. So God's supposed to be forming man right now. Not only is man, God creating man, but man is in his primitive state right now. We're talking Homo erectus state, Homo habilis, primitive man, Homo florus. This is the early races of man. Before archaic man, before Homo sapien. So on the sixth day, when God created man and woman, after his likeness, created he them, the slave trade was going on. God was creating man when the transatlantic slave trade was going on. Look at that. See, when we put everything on the timeline, it brings all that shit to an end. Now let's read what takes place on the sixth day. Genesis chapter 1, verse 24 to 31. Let's read. Verse 24. And God said, let the earth bring forth the living creatures after his kind, cattle and creeping thing and beasts of the earth after his kind. And it was so. Verse 25. And God made the beast of the earth after his kind, and the cattle after their kind, and everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kind. And God saw that it was good. Verse 26. And God said, what? Let us make men in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish, over the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. Verse 27. So God created man in his image, in his own image, in the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. So now, and God blessed them, and God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over it, over the fish, over the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. And God said, behold, I have given you every herb-bearing seed which is upon the face of all of the earth, and every tree in which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed, to you it shall be for meat. Your first diet was vegetarianism. And to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, And to everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is life, I have given every green herb for meat. And it was so. And look what God say here. And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and morning were what? The sixth day. Now keep in mind, he did all this in the sixth day. The sixth day, again, right here on the map, the sixth day, which is the creation of humans, is from the year 1239 AD to 2239 AD. That's the sixth day. We haven't even completed the sixth day yet because we're in the year 2024. So here you have it. God created the humans and created the humans during the medieval times, during the medieval ages, during the return of the Renaissance ages. You know what I mean? The King James Bible was being written when God was creating man. St. Jerome and them boys was running around. Look at the time period. So from the first day to the sixth day on a time period is from 3761 BC to 2239 Common Era. That compromises 6,000 years. And when we do 1,000 years a day, you see where placed the creation story along with the time period of history. Showing you that the time period is off, even using 1,000 years. So that's why I said you better off using the 6 literal days and start counting from there. But using the 6,000 year period, this is where you fall in. This is the gap. This is the bear trap you fall into. So if you tell me you believe that the earth is 6,000 years, this is the bear trap I'm going to put you in. See that? They already put a starting point on your creation, 3761 BC, whether you agree with it or not. It ain't about what you agree with. It's about what's established. That been there. They said 3761 BC. That been established since the 900 Common Era. The Elpo Codex and all that, Masoretic text, they established that date from back then. And that ain't had nothing to do with no Bantu Negroes from the Congo, because Bantu Negroes from the Congo at that time period was sojourning in Africa, preparing to get on that transatlantic slave trade in the 14th century. So regardless, I got these niggas in the bear trap. You know what I mean? 6,000 years, 6 days, regardless. I got you either way. Now look at the 6. Now look at this. Look at the days of creation along with the historicity at the same time period. So look at the first day of creation once again. The first day of creation is the creation of light and darkness. And you have the Nakata culture, the Ubaid culture, early pre-dynastic periods of Egypt. And that's from 3761 BC to 2761 BC. That's the first day of creation. Now, the second day of creation, which is the creation of the firmament or the creation of heaven, is from 3761 BC to 1761 BC. And that compromises the old Middle Kingdom of Egypt during this time period. See that? Sargon and Narman and boys, the Sargonic dynasty is taking place in Mesopotamia during this time. You see what I'm saying? The campaigns of Pepe and Sargon is taking place, creating the mass migration into Greece, populating the people of Mycenae. All that's taking place during this time, the second day of creation, when the heavens are supposed to be created. Now, when we move to the third day of creation, the creation of dry land, grass, herbs, and fruit trees, which would have took place 1761 BC to 761 BC. So when God is creating that on the earth plane, what's taking place is the New Kingdom, third intermediate period of Egypt, the Mycenaeans, Minoan civilization, and then the Greek Dark Ages, the collapse, which is the fall of Aja. The fall of Aja takes place during this time. See that? And then you have on the fourth day, when God is creating the sun, moon, and stars, That's the fourth day. From 761 BC to 239 AD Common Era is the fourth day when God creates the sun, moon, and stars. And historically what's taking place is the Assyrian and Babylonian captivity of the Israelites. The rise of Homer, the rise of archaic Greek is taking place around this time. The return of Israel from captivity under the rulership of Cyrus, commanded by God to rebuild the second temple, is taking place around this time. The fourth day of creation, when God is creating the sun, moon, and stars, is when the Israelites was in captivity. Come on, yo. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. This is an easy walkthrough. Now look at the fifth day. The fifth day, what's going on the fifth day? The creation of animals. The creation of animals took place from the year of 239 Common Era to 1239 Common Era, right? And who's on the scene around this time? Rome is ruling this time period. The Byzantine Empire is ruling this time period. See that? Israel, the Negro, the Bantu Negroes out the Congo Israelites are sojourning in Africa around this time. Because remember, the fall of Jerusalem was 70 AD. The fall of Jerusalem took place on the fourth day of creation. When God was creating the heavens and the earth, Titus, Rome and them boys invaded Jerusalem. When God was creating the heaven, sun, moon, and stars. See how silly this shit sounds? So on the fifth day again, on the fifth day, the Roman Empire is on the rise. The Byzantine Empire is on the rise when God is creating animals. Now on the sixth day being the creation of humans, or the creation of Adam and Eve, the creation of Adam and Eve took place in the year 1239 Common Era. So if you believed in the sixth literal day, at least you would have been placed at 3761 BC for the creation of Adam and Eve. But if you believe in the 6,000-year creation, Adam would have been created in the year 1239 BC, 1239 Common Era, 1239 AD. This is when Adam is being created. This is when God said, let us make man after our image and likeness, male and female created he them. That took place in 1239 AD, Common Era. Because this is the beginning of the sixth day. And the sixth day is 1,000 years, so that would have been from 1239 Common Era to 2239 Common Era. We ain't even got to 2239 Common Era. We're in the year 2024. So we're within the sixth day right now. When God is creating Adam and Eve, we're going through the transatlantic slave trade. America is being formed and created when God is creating man on the sixth day. Yo, you can't make this shit up. So what I'm showing you, family, is when you deal with the timetables of prophecy, it ends all things. When you put this stuff on the timeline, it ends all things. So if the timeline is faulty, if the creation is faulty, if the descendancy of Adam and Eve is faulty, all that is false. The whole narrative is false. So if the whole narrative is false, what is the truth? Because this is not it. This is not the truth. God created the heavens and the earth in 6 days and 6,000 years from 3761 BC to 2239 Common Era is not the truth. God created the heavens and the earth in 3761 BC in 6 literal days is not the truth. We have been bamboozled greatly by these false gods to the point now, after exposing this, what is the true time period of man on this planet? Dealing with the biblical literature. We don't have it. We have a falsified sense of history dealing with man on this biblical timeline. Look at that. Well, this is the seventh day. Now look at this. The seventh day is from 2239 AD to 3239 AD, or Common Era. This is in the future. Now we in the future. We in the future now. We passed the 2024 Common Era is where we at right now. We in the future. We 216 years in the future, right? So this is the 6,000-year creation, a day being 1,000 years with the historical timeline, and look at the foolishness. Look at the seventh year. So God rested 2239 Common Era to 3239 Common Era. So God ain't rested yet. God is still working. Because we're in the year 2024 present time. And the seventh day begins in the year 2239 Common Era. So God has not even rested for the Sabbath yet. There is no Sabbath yet. The Sabbath comes on the seventh day. There is no Sabbath yet. You shouldn't even be conscious of a Sabbath. Because God is still creating on the sixth day right now. Look at the time period. God should be walking the earth among men, blowing his breath, creating man right now. A mist shall be rising up from the dust of the ground, forming Adam, and God blowing the breath into man. That should be going on right now. If we're dealing with 6,000 year period. See that? Niggas ain't got no legs to stand on. Who gonna get in the ring with me after this? With all I got to bring to the table in a debate dealing with this biblical literature or Waspi versus the Bible, nigga, I'm gonna leave niggas with no legs to stand on. Tazariak ran. Zion Lex got his ass handed to him bad. See that? Ain't nobody stepping up to the plate. Jeremiah Jr. tried, but nigga, he a waste of time. Nigga, I'm gonna do him dirty. You know what I mean? So really, nigga, it's like whoever step up, nigga, this is what you got to contend with. Nigga, we in the guts of your book, nigga. I'm digging out the guts of your goddamn Bible with this shit here. Look at that. This is what took place on the seventh day. Genesis chapter 2, verse 2 and 3. Verse 2. And on the seventh day, God ended his work which he had made. And he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. Verse 3. And God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his works which God created and made. God ain't even finished creating yet. How he talking about resting and he ain't finished creating yet? God is in the year 20. God right now is in the year 2024 creating man. God got 216 years before he rests. You hear me? God got 216 years from 2024 to 2039 before he rests from his works, before he sit down, before him get tired, before him go downstairs. Huh? Come on now. I got these niggas in the bear trap. Scarlet's web right now. You can't get out of this. So this is the year. Look at this. There you see it. Look at the chart. Pay attention to the chart. The year 3761 BC. This is the first week of creation, the first 7 days. Spring month. Spring is the beginning of things. See that? Look at the date. Look at the Sabbath when God rested. Nigga ain't rest yet. Nigga, he's still at work. He's still on the clock. God's still on the clock right now. That 9 to 5 ain't over yet. That 1 to 6 ain't over yet. See that? 6,000 year creation, 1 day equaling 1,000 years. Same thing, but look at the historicity placed in it. Look at the history. Now look at the 6th day. Look at the 6th day. Look. That's where we at. See, they done opened up a can of worms. This is the 6th day. The creation of humans. And then the 7th day, God rested. So we're in the year 2024. We're in the 6th day. God is still creating man. He has 216 years before he finished creating man, before he rests on the Sabbath, 2239, Common Era. See that? I got these niggas in a scarlet web, bear trap. Can't get out of it. Niggas. Hebrews don't even deal with time periods. A lot of these biblical cats don't even deal with time periods. They just be spewing out information. They'll tell you about Noah, but they can't put Noah in the time period. They talk about Adam, but they can't put Adam in the time period. They'll talk about Abraham, but they can't put him in the time period. They talk about Jacob. They talk about all these patriarchs in the Bible, but they can't put them in the time period. And when they do put them in the time period, it's off. It's contradicting. Now, you have the way they count it, because we're in the year, according to the Hebrew calendar, we're in the year 5784, as shown here. See that? 5784. This is the Hebrew. See what it say? Look, Jewish calendar. You niggas want to be Hebrew Israelites so bad? Well, hey, go to Jewish calendar. This is the month Adar, which is equivalent to March. We're in the year 5784. That's equivalent. That's equivalent to the year 2024. So here we have Anno Mundi equal AM. Anno Mundi, however you pronounce it, is from Latin, which means in the year of the world, Hebrew, to the creation of the world, abbreviated as AM or M or AM, or what? Year after creation, is a calendar era based on what? The biblical accounts of creation of the world and subsequent history, to which calendar eras have been notable using historically. See, you niggas is in a bear trap because they have a date for this shit now. We can't just hypothetically say when creation took place. We have a date for when creation took place. 5784 on the Hebrew calendar. That's equivalent to saying 2024 on the Hebrew calendar. Now let's place the AM, the year of creation, on the timeline and look what we have. Now let me zoom in. Now you know what? No, let's keep that right there. See if I can zoom in a little more though. Now, pay attention to the bottom. AM, remember, means the year of creation. They said the year of creation was 3761 BC. So that'll be year one after the creation, right? And then we move up 784. That's 784 years after the creation, which would be 2974 BC, right? So for the creation of man, Adam and Eve and all that, heavens and earth and all that, in the year 3761 BC, 784 years after that would be 2974 BC, and that'll be 784 years after the creation of heaven and earth. And then from there, 1,000-year increments. So from 2974 to 1974 BC is 1,000 years. So that'll be from 784 to 1784 is 1,000-year measurement. And that is 1784 after the creation of heaven and earth. Another 1,000 years after that is 2784 AM after the creation of heaven and earth. 1,000 years after that is 3784 AM after the creation of heaven and earth. 1,000 years after that is 4784 AM after the creation of heaven and earth. And 1,000 years after that is 2024, 5784 AM after the creation of heaven and earth. And that's the date, 5784. That's the year we in right now on the Hebrew calendar. So I just used increments of 1,000 years and a sub of 784 years to give you the total of 784. So 784 AM is where we're at right now. So according to the Hebrew calendar, we're not even in the 6th day. We're in the 5th day. We're in the 5th day right now, according to the Hebrew calendar. So I'm showing you the discrepancies on so many levels. Using the 6,000-year measure, man was created within the 6th day. Not the 6th day, but 1239 Common Era to 2239 Common Era. That's when man would have been created. That would have been the 6th day. But then when we reference the 5784 being 2024 Common Era, man is in the 5th day. So we ain't even reached the 6th day yet. So I'm showing you how inconsistent the time period of the Hebrew calendar is using what they gave us, using 3761 BC and then using 5784 AM after the year of creation. So then you got 5784 right here, and then you got 5784 right here on the map. And going back to day one, which would be 3761 BC. So we got the whole shit on the time scale, family, with the historicity in the time periods, showing you how inconsistent this would be. See that? And that's just a little same thing, showing you the year one right here to year 5784 where we're at. And that'll be from 3761 BC to 2024 where we're at. But then 6,000 years, we got 216 years before we get to 6,000 years, and 6,000 years is going to be 2240 on the Hebrew calendar. Mm-hmm. So we got 216 years before the seventh day when God rested. That's going to be 6,000 years AM, 6,000 years after the creation on the Hebrew calendar. So there you got the whole shit measured out, family. There you go, right there. That's it. Ain't nothing else to talk about after that. Ain't nothing else to talk about. No, this is taking place within the 23rd arc cycle after the creation of man. Within the 23rd and the 24th arc cycle is when the whole creation concept calendar is measured within the 23rd arc cycle, which is the time period of the rise of Enu Hasa, the one who gave you this account. 23rd arc cycle with the historicity in there. So they go Adam. Remember 3761 BC is Adam. That would have been Adam. On the 6-day creation, this is how they would have flowed. But if they would have placed 1,000 years, 3761 BC to 2761 BC would have been the first day. So the first day of creation, all this would have been, historically, all this is going on when God created divided the lights from the darkness in the first day of creation. Because if a day is 1,000 years, right? And the starting point is 3761 BC, that means 2761 BC would be 1,000 years. So within this time frame, when God is creating the heavens and the earth, or dividing light from darkness, historically, all this is going on a historical level, showing you how inconsistent this is. See that? Ain't nothing else to talk about, family. Ain't nothing else to talk about after that. Give me a one in the chat if y'all getting this understanding, family. Matter of fact, give me some whirling vortices, family. Give me some vortexes in the chat, family. You know what I mean? It's a blood clot vibes, bro. Yes, man. Easy work. Easy work. Now look at that. So keep in mind, this presentation was about using the 6 literal days and using 6,000 years, whatever one you go with, I'm showing you that they're both inconsistent and off. So whether if you go with the 6 literal days, here's the 6 literal days chart, creation of light and darkness in 24 hours. Then on the second day, creation of the heavens in 24 hours. That's 48 hours, first, second day. Third day, creation of dry land, grass, herbs, fruit trees. That took place in 24 hours, so that's 72 hours from creation. Fourth day, creation of the sun, moon, and stars. That's 24 hours. That's 96 hours from creation. Fifth day, creation of animals, 24 hours. That's 120 hours from creation. Sixth day, creation of humans. That's 24 hours, 144 hours from creation. And then on the seventh day, he rested. So there's no measurement of time because he rested. So 144 hours it took for God to create the heavens and the earth in the year 3761 BC. So that means Adam would have been created in the year 3761 BC. But if you go with the other narrative, using 1,000 years, right? Let's go to the 1,000-year chart. Now, hold on. Before we go to the 1,000 years, now this is the 6-day reference of Adam. So if Adam is born on the 6th day, boom, that puts him within his time period. That puts him in the 4th millennium, 2nd millennium BC time period. But if we use 1,000 year, that'll place Adam in the in the 2nd century, 12th century Common Era. So look how big the gap is going from Adam being created on the 6th day in 24 hours in comparison to Adam being on the 6th day in 6,000 years using 3761 BC as a measure. That'll bring him to a time period of 1239 Common Era. So this is the map using 1,000 years. You know what? Let me just double up on this. All right, here we go. Let me double up. So there you got the 6-day creation. You got the 6,000 year creation. Nigga, I don't give a damn which one you go with. I got you. I got you in the bear trap. If you don't believe that the earth is 6 literal days, oh man, that's bullcrap, man. God said he created the earth the days of 1,000 years. Okay, we going with that narrative. Boom, we over here with it. Or you don't believe it's a days of 1,000 years, you believe it's 6 literal days, bam, we over here with it. See that? That's why these charts are important. Put everything on the timeline. It ain't too much to talk about. It ain't too much to talk about when you got it on the timeline. So now, if Adam is created on the 6th literal day, that'll place him on the timeline. Hold up. Let me get that real quick. Oh, no. Let me get that. Hold tight, hold tight. Let me get that timeline of battle. Let's get that 6th day. Right here. So it's the 6th day where Adam will be created. And then let me get the chart right here. For balance. Right here. All right. So now, that's 24-hour literal days. If Adam is created in 24-hour literal days, if the creation story is 24-hour literal days, that'll place Adam during this time period right here. He will be born in the year 3761 BC. And if Adam lived 930 years and died from there, Adam would have died 2831 BC, dealing with 6 literal days. Now, if we're dealing with 6,000 years to a day, That means Adam would have been created starting from 3761 BC, because we already established that's the starting point. Adam would have been created in the year 1239 Common Era. So you go from 3761 BC Adam, dealing with the 6 literal days, to now dealing with the 6th-day Adam in the 6,000th year, starting from 3761 BC, and that will land you in the year 1239 Common Era, 1239 AD. This is when Adam is being formed. See that? That don't even make no blood clot sense either way. Whether if you go with the 6th literal day or if you go with the 6,000 year creation, neither one of them makes sense when you place it on the timeline. And the timeline that they gave you. This is the Jewish calendar. They gave you this. And this is what Israel is following. This is what the Israelites is following as their historical timeline. See that? Whether if you want to go with the 6th-day creation of man, or if you want to go with the 8th-day creation of Adam, it's still false. It's still false. Because look, the 6th day ain't even occurred yet. The Sabbath ain't even occurred yet. The Sabbath begins in the year 2239 Common Era. That's when the Sabbath begins. And if you're talking 1,000 years from there, you're talking 3239, and that'll be the beginning of the 8th day, which will be the beginning of the forming of Adam. We way off. So that's 1,216 years before Adam's supposed to be created. See, when you put it on the timeline, it ends everything. It ends the argument. Well, if you want to place Adam at 3761 BC here, so regardless, however you want to play the game, if you want to say that the 7-day creation is 24 periods, literal periods, or if you want to say the time of creation is still got you in a bear trap either way when you put on a time scale. You dig? Yes, family. Yeah. Jehovah light, ever dropping creators light. That's how important the timetable of prophecy is. You know what I mean? Able to have these charts to measure time. See that? Now, everything I just presented was all within a time period less than 6,000 years, which supposedly from the creation of heaven and earth to Adam to where we're supposed to be at is less than 6,000 years. While in the Owaspy, it gives us a time period of 72,000 years from the creation of man to our present time is 72,000 years. That's a big difference from 6,000 years. So the earth traveling in the 23rd arc cycle after the creation of man is 69,000 years. So 69,000 years after the creation of man, the biblical God creates his creation account with his creation of Adam and Eve. And this biblical God rose up during the time of the 23rd arc cycle. Right here. That's when the false accounts of creation came on the scene. Right here. 23rd arc cycle. That's when the false god Anu Hassaj gave you niggas the 7-day creation story. And it's been over close to 6,000 years that we've still been believing this tale. And here I am breaking and decoding it to show you that it's falsified. The whole story is when you put it on a time period. See that? When you put on the time period, look at that. Look at Narmer. Look at that. See that? Put the shit on the time period, it's over. Look at Adam. Look at the Uruk king. These are Shemites and Hamites ruling before Ham is born. Noah is born in the year 2795 BC. These kings that are ruling, Narmer, these dynastic Egyptian rulers, these Mesopotamian rulers, they're ruling before Noah is born, and these supposed to be classified according to the Bible as Hamites and Shemites. You have Hamites and Shemites reigning and ruling with architect before Noah is born. There you go right there. When you put it on the timeline, it's over. Ain't nothing to talk about. What'd you say, Daryl Cosmo? I see you posting in the chat. Let me share that verse with the God talking about for y'all who may not know. What judge y'all say? Third, that Jehovah has not finished his creation and retired from his works. That where you have said he tired or he rested from his works, you have let yourselves fall, though. But now look at this, though, Daryl. After what I just brought out, they God ain't even resting yet. They God still creating. If we're 5784 from the time of creation, that'll place him within the 5th day. He ain't even create man yet. See that? 206 years before he create man. So their God is still working. Their God ain't even reached, their false God ain't even reached their false Sabbath yet. They God's Sabbath don't come into the year, 2239? That's when they false God Sabbath come. So you said, look, yes, that day of rest was 1,000 years on earth. So if that day of rest is 1,000 years, again, when we put that on the time chart, look what we get. If that day is 1,000 years, right? 1,000 years. Look at that. The Sabbath have not occurred yet. The Sabbath of rest is going to start in the year 2239 Common Era. We have 216 years before the Sabbath occurs, based off the historical timeline that the Jews gave us. Because this is all based off the Jewish calendar, which in return, the Hebrews follow it, the Christians follow it. A lot of the Christians are not aware of it because they don't study that deep, but they follow it ignorantly, unknowing to the facts. So we're in the 6th day. We're in the 6th day of creation, which is man. God is forming man as we speak. It's the year 2024. Now look at the 6th day. The 6th day started in 1239 AD or Common Era. And it's going to end in the year 2239 Common Era. That's when the 6th day year ends, and that's when the 7th day begins in the year 2239. So if we're in the year 2024, that means we have 216 years before God rests and starts his Sabbath. Huh? Come on now, you got to be honest with this. 3761 BC. Let's Google it. Let's Google when does the world begin? When does the world begin according to Bible? So this is what we believe. This is Battle of the Holy Books. What does that say? I'll put in, when does the world begin according to Bible? What they say, family? What that say? The Hebrew calendar has traditionally, since the 4th century Common Era by Hillel II, date the creation to 3761 BC. There you have it right there. It's right there, man. I ain't making this shit up. Dating creation. Dating creation. Early Jewish estimation. The Hebrew calendar has traditionally, since the 4th century AD, by Hillel II, date to the creation of 3761 BC. There you have it right there. We ain't making this up. We ain't making this up. We just bringing forth the evidence. We just bringing forth the evidence. That's it. So there you have it. 3761 BC. What you have on this chart right here? Right here, look at that. What does it say? First day of creation. What does it say down here? 3761 BC. Huh? 6,000 years after 3761 BC is right here. 3239 AD. That's the ending of the 7th day. 3239 Common Era, which is the future, is the ending of the 7th day, using 6,000 years and using 3761 BC as the starting point. See that? So Adam has not been created because Adam was created after the Sabbath, for those who believe in the 8th day creation. You know, you got the 6th day man and then you have the 8th day man. If you want to play with that narrative, we can. So the 8th day Adam, which came after the Sabbath, which would have came after 3239 AD. So that means Adam has not been created yet. We are the 6th day people because we're in the 6th day right now. The 6th day began in 1239 Common Era and ends in the year 2239 Common Era. So we are the 6th day creation. Adam has not been created yet. You see how that works when you put it on the timeline? And how you can play with the narrative? See that? Come on, man. That's game right there. That's game right there, man. Ain't too much to talk about after that. I don't know what niggas want to talk about after that. What we talking about after that? It's a blood vibes. It's a blood vibes. But yes, family, I just wanted to bring that out. You know what I mean? I just wanted to touch on that to piggyback off what I spoke about before. You know what I mean? Showing the Hebrew calendar and the timeline from Adam to Noah. When you put it on the historical timeline to show that it's inconsistent. But then on this demonstration, I want to piggyback and show that if you go with the 6th day literal narrative or if you go with the 6,000 year narrative, either or, you gonna still come with inconsistency, still a time period. So with that being said, if that's the time that they're giving us and it's false, what is the real time period? We're going off a false narrative of 6,000 years. See? You know what I mean? We're going to keep it short and simple, family. Until next time, your boy Shalai Shalom is out of here. Peace to the gang. Salute. Give me some vortexes in the chat. Spin them vortexes. Pray the gang, and we out.
Bittersweet Herbals, where the taste is bitter, but the results are sweet. Bittersweetherbals.com. Bittersweet Herbals, where the taste is bitter, but the results are sweet. Bittersweetherbals.com.